Hello, Cazgem here, and we are back in VanillaVille. That's right, the City Skylines series where I go no mods, no assets, strictly vanilla, all DLCs however. And this is something that can be applied. I'm personally doing it on PC, but it can also be applied to consoles as well. So if you wanted to kind of follow along, see what I'm doing, take notes, etc., you can definitely do so on console. So let's go ahead and figure out what we're doing here. I just had to spend a little bit of time cleaning up Main Street. We had to demolish a couple abandoned buildings that were popping up for really weird reasons, and we're now up to 1,600 population. That's actually really good. Just in the time it took me to kind of start this up, start recording, we've gained over 50 population. Because last time we got up to Tiny Town, and now we're going for Boomtown, and Boomtown happens at about 1,800 population. So we're getting really close, and something that I think is going to help kick us to the next level is if we go ahead and get our first specialized industry area. So we have all this amazing farmland here. This wouldn't be a great area for a farm, not because it's not fertile, it's very fertile, but the issue is it's so close to where I want our old town area to be that I'm just a little nervous about putting it that close and boxing myself in, both for the old town stuff and for the farming areas. So we're instead, ooh yay, that park has leveled up. Our park has leveled up, huzzah! Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and put it over here just to give us a nice little bit of space to work with. And this way it's out of the way, it's in its own little corner for now, and we can eventually kind of build around it. But I didn't want it to be that close and box ourselves in on either the old town or the industry area proper. So now I'm going to go ahead to my large roads, and we're going to select the industry roads, the medium industry road in this case. And this road is great because it's cheaper than the standard 4-lane roads, the avenue, but it has an advantage. Or sorry, it does have a disadvantage, sorry, is what I'm saying. The advantage is it's cheaper. The disadvantage is it creates more noise pollution. And the other disadvantage of it's kind of ugly compared to the other ones. So yeah, this isn't something you'd want in your high-end residential areas for sure. But for an industry area like this, it really is perfect and beautiful. So what we're going to do now is grab the small roads tab, go to the small industry roads, and we're going to go ahead and draw a couple of lines here with these. There we go. And we want the farming area to be relatively spacious, so we don't want to condense it too much. Leave it nice and spread out for expansion. And then we're going to go ahead to industries, the farming area, and we're going to go ahead and grab the farming main industry building. And we're going to put that on an area that isn't too fertile, and this is a much lighter area, and that would be less productivity for our crop fields. We'll go ahead and place that there. And what I mean by that is if I grab this crop field, you see it says, you know, construction costs 4,000, great. Estimated production 4,800 units per week, cool. But if I take it over to a lighter colored area, check it out. Where it's more white than yellow, you've got less and less units per week until you've basically got nothing. It's not even worth putting it down over there. So you want to put this where it's nice and fertile. It doesn't have to be super dark, but it needs to probably be, I'd say, 3/4 of the way yellow, and you'll get full production on that. And that goes for most industry areas that I've tested. So keep that in mind. But for now, we're going to go ahead and place a few of these like so. And we'll go ahead and do a fourth one right here. And then let's go ahead and grab an animal pasture. And we can go ahead and place that down here, because it doesn't need to be fertile for them. Our animal pasture is going to take these crops that are produced over there, and it's going to turn it into animal products, because we're going to feed cows and stuff, and they're going to grow up and become dinner. However, for now we need to go ahead and grab some water pipes, water this industry area. Not enough money. Oh boy, is that going to be a problem already. Let's just wait a minute, wait for our money to return. There we go. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and play the wait a few seconds game for our money to... Alright, and just a few seconds later, long enough for me to get a quick drink for myself, and we can go ahead and connect these pipes. And just as importantly, you'll note that we've got these close enough to connect, totally on purpose, so I can then take this power line and connect it over like so. Now, we've got electricity to this area. The pastures and the crop fields, for the most part, don't actually need electricity, because this is just an open field. The cows aren't watching Netflix or anything. They don't need electricity. But they do like water. So, we've got them watered, we've got power to the main industry building, and now we've just kind of got to let this run for a bit, but we're starting to run into some water issues. And this is something that'll start happening about the time you're going for Boomtown. You need to go ahead and get more water. So I'm using just a water tower, which means I don't have nearly as much water as if I would have used a pump, but again, the water is all the way down there. So let's go ahead and, kind of an aesthetic choice, let's go ahead and plop this in right here, and I actually feel like that could look pretty nice, because now you can turn it into more of an aesthetic build. Nice. Part of the farms and whatnot. So now with Boomtown, while I'm hooking this up and beautifying this a little bit, we can go ahead and get things like, you know, extra square, we can do our first bits of public transit, things like that. Also some new fun policies. So yeah, that'll be great, but right now, we're going to go ahead and just add a few bushes to the base of this water tower, not because we need it, but just because it, I don't know, just for me it adds a little bit to it, because that water tower there, it doesn't necessarily look bad, but with the bushes, it just feels a lot more intentional, and I'm actually going to make this one match as well. There we are. And it looks like we need to address this entryway, potentially. Because check this out, these guys are waiting, and it's going to start backing up before too long. So let's try a really quick fix to that. Let's go to traffic, not that one. We need the intersections. Not that one. This one? Yes, junctions. So traffic routes, junctions. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that menu. Reopen that menu. And we're going to go ahead and turn off that stoplight. And we're just going to kind of see how this road flows. I have a feeling it'll turn out fine, but we will have to wait and find out. Because I believe this isn't going to be too bad. We'll have to keep an eye on that, though. There we go. So now let's go ahead and see how our farms are looking. So what's going to happen is these guys produce crops, and they're going to send them both to here and to export. And then this animal pasture is just going to export and produce for the city. But what we want to do is make sure that we have a little bit of top stock, because we don't want our cows to run out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in a grain silo right next to these pastures. Separate it out a little bit. So that now, these guys are going to prioritize filling this grain silo. And that's right next to here, so hopefully these guys will keep each other nice and filled up with product. So now we come on over here, and then let's see if we can get a little bit of power crossing the road there. There we are. And bada bing, bada boom, we are good to go there. So I think now what we need to do is, I think I'm actually going to rename this. This isn't much of a plantation, so what I'm going to say is just fields? Magnolia Fields. Sure, why not? Folks, let me know down in the comments if you have a better recommendation for district or park names, because I am really bad at it. Anyone who tunes into my live stream knows these things. So now, over here with the Pearl Garden, we've got this up to 2 stars now, and I'm not actually going to do anything with it, even though we did unlock new buildings, because the 2 buildings we unlocked, I'll go ahead and pull them up here for you, in case you're unfamiliar, are the Park Pier 2 and Park Pier 1, and both of these are intended for waterfront, and we don't really have any water involved with this park here, but in no time whatsoever, we will be up to the next level anyways. I mean, look at that. We're still good on entertainment, and the visitors, they're just piling in from everywhere to see our lovely park, and it really is a lovely park. I love it. So now, let's go ahead and expand our city a little bit, because now you've got a good industry area going, and we can go ahead and support more jobs. So let's go ahead and, first of all, we'll just produce a couple extra sets of jobs. Get ourselves a couple of these. And then we'll go ahead and get some more crop fields, just to space them out a little bit differently, so it doesn't look too carbon copy between two areas. You can go ahead and fix that, actually. I liked the idea initially, but now I'm just like, nope, that's terrible. Alright, and now that we've got more than enough jobs, not just enough, but more than enough, we can go ahead and extend our residential area over here back towards the bluff. So let's go ahead and drag our main road back. And then we'll go ahead and grab these side roads. And we don't want the side roads to intersect with the main road all too often. In fact, we need to go ahead and delete those 2 bits, because that many intersections was just going to slow this main road down. We want that main road to be really zippy. We want that to be a great way to get in and out of these back neighborhoods. So let's go ahead and pull that back. And then, nope, we are using the wrong road type. We're still on these small industry roads. Let's go to the regular roads. Ba-boom. And then let's go ahead and drag this straight back-ish. We don't need to be perfect at this moment, but we want it to be relatively perfect if we can. So let's go ahead and pull this back to here. And then go ahead and pull that up there. Pull this right here. And up like so. Now we'll go ahead and fill this part of the grid in. And I think if we go ahead and place this right here, that should be fine, relatively speaking. And then we should be able to grab this, pull it across here. And I'm just going to keep building the grid out in this direction. I don't want to follow along there, so actually what I'm going to do here is cut that off. Do something like that. Creates a little bit of interest anyways, because now I've got a cool little angle happening. Just something you can do occasionally to make things different. And then over here, we're going to go ahead and reflect that once we get this lined up correctly. There we go. Now we can reflect that on this side. And now this is primed for a nice, big, unique building to kind of hide the fact that we've got that sewage line back there. Though hopefully at some point soon we can move our sewage operations, because we don't want to be dumping sewage right next to our main part of town forever. So let's go ahead and pull this back. And then we'll go ahead and pull these through. And now we're just going to finish filling this grid in back here. And then right here should be about the same-ish. There we go. Pull this in. Oh, not like so. Not enough money? What? What do you mean not enough money? I'm the mayor. You can't tell me what to do. Alright, so let's see. We've got that in. And now let's go ahead and pull this road down like so. Well, money issues are becoming apparent. And it's not because we're not making a lot, it's just because we're actually kind of on a little bit of a spending spree. And what happened to our surplus that we had, I forgot to mention this, once you plop these storage areas down, the game is going to import a lot of stuff to make this thing fill up relatively quickly. Otherwise, this would just be static. So that's something to note in the future. So if you place one of those, then your money disappears like mine just did. That's why. It's filling up that grain silo. That's okay. We're making plenty of money without it. I'm not too concerned at all. Though we are going to need to address our electricity problems here in a moment. So once we place these bits of road, let's spend a minute or two thinking about that. Now I've got 2 choices for this road. We could have a little bit of an arc, or we could just bring it in right there. I'm thinking a little bit of an arc. Just, you know, keeps the interest, and it kind of follows the bluff line, which is also ideal, because it makes it look like we're embracing the terrain rather than just, you know, bulldozing over it. So let's go ahead and move that. And that's going to be really nice. I can't wait to zone this area in completely. So what we need to do now is figure out where we can break this grid a little bit. Oh, thank you. And we need to see... Let's break the grid. Right there should work. Yeah, that'll work. And then we can go ahead and break the grid right here as well, actually. There we go. I've got a couple longer strips. You know what? I like it on the end piece, but that middle piece, not so much. So we're actually going to re-add it right there. Just for funsies. Just for funsies. So now, we need to address the fact that our farm has leveled up to level 2. Nice and quick. So, what we can get for this guy now, let me go ahead and grab this. We can start doing some more advanced processing, number 1. We can also add some barracks, which include which increase work efficiency. So you can place up to 20 of those, and your work efficiency will keep going up. And that's kind of cool if you're trying to min-max it. You don't really need them, but if you're really trying to min-max down the line, it can be worth it. Now the next one we're going to place is actually this flour mill. So let's go ahead and wait for the money for that to roll in. There we go. And now this farming mill, so this is what I'm talking about. I don't want to place this up here, even though it's really pretty. I don't want to place it right next to our water tower, because you'll see that ground pollution icon. For some reason, the flour mill produces toxic waste, and I have no idea why. Just don't eat anything that comes out of this bakery, kids. It's probably bad for you. So let's go ahead and grab a little bit of water. And now let's address those power issues. So let's see what our budget looks like for power. We can't really afford to place another big power plant, so we're going to go ahead and boost that power to 120%. Remember, it's diminishing returns, so it's not a good idea to do that unless you are willing to deal with the consequences. But now our power issues should be a thing of the past, at least temporarily. And we're going to go ahead and get zoning a little bit more commercial, probably followed by a little bit of residential. So let's go ahead and get the commercial going straight back like so. And then we're going to go ahead and get our first bits of residential zoning in here. So go ahead and zone all of this as residential. And that should get us going for the area. But we do need to get piping in too. Don't want to forget that piping. Because it turns out that your Sims actually like water. You don't want to forget how to do that. So let's put this over here, drag this up here, and pull this down here. Very nice. Very, very nice. And now we've got a huge, an absolutely gigantic demand for industries. So we're actually going to give them a little bit of generic industry now. And we still have this whole industrial road here that we haven't zoned yet. And that is super ideal, because now we can just take this, and I believe it's even already watered. It is already watered. And just to make sure it's filled, there we go. Just in case someone developed right there and the core of their building didn't have water. That would have been a little bit annoying. So using a little bit of that pipage over there, it just helps future-proof the area a little bit. And now I'm going to let the city grow for just a smidge, build up the budget again, and we will be right back as we work our way towards Busy Town. Alright, now that we have a little bit of a budget to work with, we need to start addressing things like the fact that this whole area of our city over here is lacking in education. Because, yeah, it's just not quite going to cut it for too long with this elementary school being the only elementary school for the city. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one, I'm going to place it over here, and then between the two, they should definitely get this entire bluff area covered with the amount of students they can take. So let's go ahead and grab just a standard elementary school, and we'll go ahead and plop that in. I want to say right here should work. Technically speaking, I think up there would be best, but I'm not sure if I'll do too much development over there. So to kind of be safe, kind of future-proof, things like that, I think we'll go ahead and place it right here. And since it's technically not needed yet, we're going to go ahead and turn it off. Because that way, we've paid for it, it's there, and all we have to do, once we need it, is just turn it on. That's something you can do to kind of remind yourself, make sure you don't overspend, things like that, to ensure that you are covered in the future whenever we actually do need the coverage and the service. So right here, oh, we've got one awkward guy he just built in the wrong spot. Oy. That's kind of a reason why you should either do your water pipes perfectly right next to each other, or do what I typically do, which is kind of overdo the water pipe slightly. I normally overlap them a little bit just to have the extra coverage. So now we need to figure out what else our citizens need. So let's check their different needs. Healthcare, they're really good to go. They've got no queue for any hospital waits whatsoever. We don't have any dead people removers, though. You do need dead people removers before too long in your city. So we do need to think a little bit about where we want to put this. So up there, not so much. Down over there, also not so much. It looks like either we'll have to put it right on the main street, which means demoing some buildings, eliminating some prime real estate. We could also put it over here on the bluff. That wouldn't be too bad. Or we could demo just one of these little side streets. And right now I'm actually thinking that it could be nice to go ahead and just have it right at the end of this street. And then we can, of course, develop around it. It's not always going to be on the edge of town. But for now, that kind of feels like a good spot. Now, we need to address the fact that our electricity is once again in trouble. So this is why you can't play the budgeting game with the power plants forever, because eventually it's just not going to cut it. But we're going to do it once more just to kind of act as a stay of execution. And these guys should be fine, there we go, on their poo dumping. Because their poo dumping is perfectly fine, it was just, it didn't have electricity for a moment. And that's actually one of the most dangerous parts about not having your sewage covered, or not your sewage, you're not having your power covered, is raw sewage will chase citizens away faster than almost anything else you can do. So keep that in mind. They do not like sewage. Plus, it's bad for their health. Really bad for their health. So, now we can go ahead and grab this. And let's zone a little bit more of our area over here. And then we'll start zoning this as well. And then we need to keep a couple other things in mind for our expansion. Sweet! Level 3. They're over at the park. We will check that out here momentarily. But we need to check out a couple of things over here. So, a city bus system will be our first step towards a nice, well, basically green-ish city, because getting a green city going early on is actually pretty useful, because A, it can help with traffic, and B, it helps with happiness in the city, because your citizens are actually very happy to use green forms of transit and ride their bikes and such if you give them the infrastructure to do so. And that's stuff that sometimes you do have to spend a little bit more time than you might like planning ahead on. But for now, let's go ahead and figure out, I think, a new power plant first. So I think the best one's going to be just get a second coal power plant. We can just place it right next to there. And headcanon-wise, that's the same power plant. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same power plant. Just different wings of it. And now over here, we can get more residents in, because we're starting to get a lot of demand for residents. Because we're starting to provide for their needs, people see it's a good place to live, etc. And what I do want to do now, because we're kind of reaching that point where I want to start zoning right there, we might make this our first tile purchase over there. Because that way we can move the poopy water pipe downhill. And that'll be a slightly expensive operation right now, but it is something that does need to happen. Before too long, preferably. So let's go ahead and get all of that zoned. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into the areas, which is the little globe with the sun and moon following it, for those that don't know. And we're going to go ahead and purchase that tile, because, again, that's where we're going to start doing a bit of our, well, wastewater dumping, to put it nicely. And also, it's a lot of nice developable area with highway access, which is superbly ideal. So let's go ahead and purchase that. And you will notice we can go ahead and purchase another tile if we want, but right now I'm not sure exactly where I want to go, so we're going to go ahead and leave it for now. It'll just kind of depend on the direction that we're taking things. But for now, we're going to go ahead and pause. We're going to grab this poopy water pipe. We're going to go ahead and place it right down here, and then we're going to make sure that we can draw water and power over to it very quickly. You don't want to unpause before you do this, because citizens will leave in droves over this. They really will. Alright, so now that poopy water clears up, and now by the time we need this land to develop on, it's going to be gone, and eventually this will turn into nice, beautiful green land again. Just kind of got to give it some time. That's all it takes. There we are. Now that's all developing. We can go ahead and the next expansion area for this town is probably actually going to be just filling out the bluff. So what we'll do is we'll continue doing the grid down here and over to, I'd say about here, because what we might do is make it to where this has a short little diamond interchange right here. Just a simple highway turnoff, basically. And then continue on to a terminus point over here. But that's just me theory crafting. Because we need to just expand our city a little bit first and see where it goes. And we are getting so close to the next thing even. Busy town. We're really close, actually. Wow. Because that'll bring us oil industry, it'll bring us tourism, specialization, it'll bring us a lot of new policies. And more importantly, I think, we start unlocking the different roads. And this here is a very important road for me, the 4-lane road with bicycle lanes. So that's something that we're definitely going to be working towards. But in the next episode, because we're out of time for today's episode actually already. So if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to leave a comment, hit the like button, and if you want to see more of this in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you see when these episodes go live in the future and any other content I have. And also, if you want to catch me live over on Twitch, where I stream 5 days a week, the link is in the description below. And that's 5 days a week of Cities Skylines content. So if you enjoy Cities Skylines content and want to support me, be sure to catch me over there. But in the meantime, this is Cazgem signing out. See ya!